There's a place in Lithuania where people have been leaving crosses for centuries, not in rows and not in any kind of order, just one after another, until the entire hill is covered. No one knows exactly when it started. No one knows why this particular hill. But even when it's destroyed, completely cleared, it doesn't stay empty for long. Because people keep coming back, quietly, at night, alone. And today there are hundreds of thousands of crosses standing there. Some say it's peaceful, others say it's overwhelming. And some people don't last very long before they feel like they need to leave. Because once you're standing in the middle of it doesn't feel like a monument. It feels like something else.
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people. The engineering and creating people. The fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people. The just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Blue Air Blue Signature purifiers remove airborne pollutants so you can recover and sleep better. Peak performance isn't just built in the gym, it's built at home. Shop BlueAir.com, official air care partner of the New York Knicks.
Ready for the best summer ever? ID Tech is the original and most trusted tech camp for kids, ages 7 to 17, offering over 50 epic courses like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, AI and machine learning, and more. Camps are all about high-energy fun, new friends, trusted instructors, and exclusive tech partnerships. Experience ID Tech at 75 college campuses nationwide. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Toby.
And welcome to the Whispering Woods Haunted episode. On this episode, we are going to...
Lithuania.
We are indeed. To the Hill of Crosses. Now, not necessarily loads of paranormal stuff going on in this one, but this place is so interesting that I really just wanted to cover it. Right, I'll get straight into it. Are you ready for the story?
Yes, I am.
There are places where grief settles quietly. Places where memory is marked with stone or earth or a single name carved into wood. And then there are places where memory multiplies. where loss is not laid down once, but again and again, until the landscape begins to change beneath the weight of it. In North Lithuania, not far from the city of Kryžių, there is a low hill covered in crosses. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands upon thousands of them, rising from the ground in tight clusters, bound together with rosaries, photographs, ribbons and prayer tokens, so densely packed that from a distance the hill no longer looks natural. It looks as though something has grown there. The place is known as the Hill of Crosses, or Kryžių kalnas, and although it is now one of Lithuania's best-known pilgrimage sites, its origins remain uncertain. The hill was once a medieval fort mound, associated with the former settlement of Jugiseri, or Damante, and local authorities in Kryžių note that a wooden castle stood there before being destroyed in 1348, during an attack by the Livonian order. Long after the fort was gone, people began returning to the site for another purpose entirely. No one can say with complete confidence when the first crosses appeared. Modern accounts usually place the beginning of the tradition in the 19th century, after the failed uprisings of 1831 and 1863 against Russian rule, when families who could not recover or identify the bodies of the dead are believed to have raised symbolic crosses on the old hill fort. Other local traditions say the earliest crosses were erected after prayers for healing were answered there. What is clear is that by the middle of the 19th century, the place was already established enough to be noticed by officials. A written reference from 1850 described the mound as a place people still regarded as holy, and that uncertainty matters, because the Hill of Crosses does not begin with one clean founding story. It does not belong to a single apparition, a single martyr, or a single miracle. It seems to have formed slowly, through repetition, through private acts that accumulated over time, until they became something visible from a distance. One cross placed by one family might be explained easily enough. A second, then a third, and then 100 begin to suggest something else. Not an event, but a return. Not one memory, but a place people felt compelled to come back to. By the early 20th century, the number of crosses were already being counted in the hundreds. Later accounts recorded around 130 in 1900, 155 in 1902, and more than 400 by 1938. Those numbers matter not simply because they show growth, but because they show continuity. The hill did not become important overnight. It gathered meaning gradually, in the same way many truly unsettling places do, through years of repeated attention, until nobody could quite separate the place itself from everything that had been brought there. And what people brought there was not only prayer. Over time, the hill came to stand for something larger in Lithuania. Not just Catholic devotion, but endurance. Lithuania had spent generations under outside rule, first under the Russian Empire, and later under Soviet occupation. And in that context, the cross was never only a religious object. UNESCO's documentation on Lithuanian cross crafting describes the tradition as a symbol of both national and religious identity, especially during the 19th century and beyond. At the Hill of Crosses, those meanings were layered together in public view. Faith and resistance became difficult to pull apart. This is the part of what makes the site feel so charged even now. Because unlike a church, which is designed for order, or a cemetery, which is shaped by rules and boundaries, the Hill of Crosses is crowded, uneven and cumulative. Crosses stand beside crucifixes, rosaries hang from ironwork. Tiny handmade tokens are wedged into gaps between larger structures, and newer offerings sit against wood that has already greyed and split in the weather. Nothing is placed with the clean logic of a memorial garden. Instead, the whole hill seems to have been built by insistence, by people arriving one after another and refusing to let the place fall silent. That refusal became impossible during the Soviet period. After Lithuania was absorbed into the Soviet Union, the authorities regarded the site as a problem. It was religious, yes, but it was also national, and that combination made it dangerous. In April 1961, the site was bulldozed by the authorities, with crosses removed and burned or taken away. Yet the destruction did not end the practice. Crosses began appearing again. The site was targeted repeatedly in the years that followed, with Soviet authorities attempting multiple times to clear it, restrict access, and suppress its significance. Lithuania and international accounts agree on the central pattern. Even when small details vary, the hill was destroyed, and each time it returned. It was not enough for people to mourn there once. It was not enough to rebuild it once. The crosses came back repeatedly, despite surveillance, despite pressure, despite the knowledge that leaving one there was not a harmless devotional act, but a visible challenge to a system that wanted such symbols erased. In that sense, the Hill of Crosses became more than a shrine. It became a quiet argument between power and memory, played out in wood and iron on an exposed strip of Lithuanian ground. When Lithuania regained independence in 1990, the hill entered another phase. Free from the restrictions that had shaped the Soviet years, it grew rapidly, drawing not only local visitors, but pilgrims and tourists from abroad. On 7th of September 1993, Pope John Paul II visited the Hill of Crosses during his journey to Lithuania, celebrated Mass nearby before a crowd of around 100,000 people, and later referred to the site as one of hope, peace, love and sacrifice. His visit fixed the hill even more firmly in the international imagination. But by then it did not need endorsement to feel important. That significance had already been built, cross by cross, over generations. Today, Lithuania's official tourism materials describe the site as being covered by around 200,000 crosses, though any exact count is difficult to hold on to for long, because people are still adding to it. The crosses are not arranged in any neat pattern. They are pressed together in layers, one leaning into another. Large timber crosses standing above tiny handmade ones, metal crucifixes hanging from wooden beams, rosaries wrapped around iron, photographs tucked into gaps, ribbons and prayer tokens tied to whatever space can still be found. The result is not just visual density, kind of accumulation that feels almost physical, as if centuries of private acts have been compressed into one exposed strip of ground. Accounts of the site repeatedly return to that same impression. Not peace, but scale, weight, and the sense of being confronted, by something much larger than the visitor expects from a simple hill in open countryside. And then there is the sound. Even people who approach the site in daylight, in ordinary weather, often remark on the noise before anything else. Thousands of crosses, chains and rosaries move against one another in the wind, producing a constant clatter of wood, metal and wire. It's not musical, and yet it's rhythmic in places. It's not loud in the way machinery is loud, but it fills the space completely, so that there is never quite a moment of true silence. Depending on the weather, that sound can shift from a faint tapping to a more insistent rattling. And because it comes from every direction at once, it can be difficult to separate individual noises from the whole. That, perhaps, is part of what gives the place its reputation. It's not a traditional haunting, not the kind built on one ghost story or one famous tragedy, but something more cumulative. The hill is a product of repeated return. People came there after uprisings, after occupations, after disappearances and losses that were never fully accounted for. And they kept coming back through periods when doing so could bring punishment. And when tens of thousands of such objects are gathered together, all carrying their own private meanings, the site begins to feel less like a collection and more like a pressure field built out of memory itself. Visitors often sense that pressure in emotion, rather than supernatural terms. They speak about becoming quiet without meaning to, about reaching the hill and finding conversations suddenly difficult, about being moved in ways that they did not expect. Even people who are not religious often describe the site as heavy, intimate, or deeply affecting. The reaction is not hard to understand. The Hill of Crosses is not a polished place designed to guide a visitor gently through history. It's chaotic, layered, and full of evidence that other people have arrived there, carrying things they could not carry anywhere else. Because even without any need to invent a ghost story, the place already behaves like one. It has past that was meant to be erased, and yet refused to disappear. It has been destroyed and returned. It makes sound constantly, even when no one is speaking. And it's still growing, still receiving fresh crosses, fresh prayers, fresh names and fresh grief. There are many descriptions about this place, and they begin to change, not dramatically, not into anything that can be clearly labelled as supernatural, but into something more uncertain, something that sits just outside of easy explanation. People speak about feeling watched, though no one is there. They describe movement at the edges of their vision, the sense that something has shifted among the crosses, only for it to settle again when they turn to look directly at it. Others describe a change in the air itself, moments where the wind seems to drop away entirely, leaving the hill in a kind of suspended stillness that feels out of proportion to the open landscape around it. There are accounts too of sound behaving in ways that are harder to place. Not just the movement of the crosses, but something beneath it, something that seems to form and dissolve, like distant voices that never fully become words, or a rhythm that suggests something organised without ever resolving into anything recognisable. It's not something that can be measured. It's not something that can be measured, not something that can be confirmed, but it is something that's described again and again. At night, those impressions deepen. The hill is open, exposed, without the structure of buildings or the containment of walls. And in darkness, the sense of scale becomes more difficult to hold on to, the crosses forming shapes that shift as the eyes adjust, layers blending together, distances becoming uncertain. There are accounts of people walking there after dark and experiencing a sudden and complete stillness, a moment where the sound that usually fills the hill seems to fall away entirely, leaving a silence that feels deliberate rather than natural, as though something has paused rather than ended. None of this requires a ghost story, because what the Hill of Crosses offers is something different. Not the idea that something happened there once, but the sense that something has been happening there continuously, built up over time through repetition, through return, through the layering of human experience in one place, until the place itself begins to feel altered by it. Because this is not a single act of devotion, it is thousands. Not one moment of grief, but centuries of it. Not one act of defiance, but a pattern of return that continued even when it was meant to stop. And when all of that is brought together, concentrated into one space, repeated often enough that it becomes inseparable from the ground itself, it begins to suggest something that is difficult to prove and equally difficult to dismiss. That places remember, not in the way people do, not with clarity or narrative or intention, but in a quieter way, through accumulation, through the simple act of being returned to again and again, until the boundary between what happened there and what remains there becomes harder to define. And if you stand there long enough in the wind and that constant shifting sound that occasionally settles into silence, you may begin to understand why the place has never stayed empty. Because whatever draws people there has never really left.
Ready for the best summer ever? ID Tech is the original and most trusted tech camp for kids, ages 7 to 17, offering over 50 epic courses like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with take-home bots, AI and machine learning, and more. Camps are all about high-energy fun, new friends, trusted instructors, and exclusive tech partnerships. Experience ID Tech at 75 college campuses nationwide. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Now, if you haven't seen this place, I highly recommend you have a look on the interweb, because there's just something really about it. I was going to say really something, but I couldn't think of how to describe it adequately. And especially have a look at pictures at night, because they're really eerie. And you can imagine going up there. I don't know if it's always lit up, but with all of that stuff and all of the noise, you can imagine being watched. Well, I could.
Yeah.
Would you visit it?
I'd like to visit a lot of places.
Yeah, but would that be one of them, do you think?
Yeah.
I would. Most definitely. I'd love it. But then I'd like to leave once I'm...
Yes. I'd like to leave after any.
Yes. But yeah, I hope everybody found that interesting, like I did, because I saw it. I was just like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
Let's do an episode.
Well, that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
We will indeed. We will catch you again tomorrow for the main episode. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Hi, Diva. It's Rachel.
And Jordan. Yeah, hi. Quick question.
Why are you not spending your Venmo balance?
Yeah, we're concerned.
You can, buy stuff with it.
Ugh, you love buying stuff.
And earn cash back on eligible purchases.
You love purchasing eligible things.
So the money your friend sent you yesterday, that's today's ramen or rideshare or eye patches.
The skincare kind, not the pyro kind.
Spend with Venmo. Then you can earn cash back with Venmo Stash. Venmo Stash bundle terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 cash back per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms. ID verification required to use a Venmo balance.
The stories told on the Whispering Woods are inspired by historical records, witness reports, and local folklore. While every effort is made to research and represent events accurately, some details, names, and locations may differ from official accounts or have been changed out of respect for those involved. These episodes are created for storytelling and entertainment purposes and should not be considered definitive fact or investigative journalism.